There was a man who boxed all his life, and he dedicated pretty much every waking hour to the sport of boxing. And he told himself that one day he would become the lineal world champion. There's many, heavyweight belts, and he wanted to become the heavyweight lineal champion. I think Buster Douglas took one of the belts. He threw it in the trash can. He kind of broke up the linealness of all the heavyweight title belts. And however, this particular boxer wanted to regroup all the belts, bring them all together, and essentially become the lineal heavyweight world champion of boxing. And he had to fight, I believe, Vladimir Klitschko. And Vladimir Klitschko, up until this point, had not ever been beaten. He might have had a loss way back in the day, but he'd reigned as heavyweight champion for a very long time. And this particular boxer went up against him and just boasted a good game, just kept speaking that he was going to defeat this man, take him out. And he did. He boxed his head right off. He beat him by decision. It wasn't a knockout, it wasn't a TKO, just beat him by decision, I believe. And what happened after this boxer became the heavyweight champion of the world is something that nobody could have really anticipated. He fell into a deep, dark depression for about 4 years. He had gotten to the top. This is what he had worked for his whole life. He got to the top. And he basically went to the bottom after. And the reason why I tell you this story is because there are lifetimes that people will spend to get a thing, or to ascertain an object, or to have a title, or to gain an experience, or to be in a place. And once they achieve that, what happens is quite the opposite of what they thought that they would feel when they got there. And it's pain that they could have never imagined. And they essentially fall into what happened to this boxer. His name was Tyson Fury. He fell into a deep, dark depression. And it's not really what you think of him or whatever he says or whatnot. He's a very verbose human being. But that being said, the journey is the point. And the thing that you have been going for or chasing after, you have to understand that even in the having of it, the feeling that you're seeking is something that you can have right now. And I understand that that is not easy for people to grasp that concept, but that concept, what we're going to talk about in this video and help you out to better understand, is the fact that just because you think it may give you the feeling, it can do quite the opposite. And we see this happen in the last video I told you about people sabotaging relationships, sabotaging opportunity. The point being is that it's when you get it, it sometimes isn't what you thought that it would be. It's who are you being before versus after, and can you be the same person? I believe just recently the Super Bowl happened, and you saw the quarterback who won it really didn't go too rah-rah. He was we got it. Really happy about that. And he's like, all right, on to the next one. And comparatively to this boxer, it's no judgment. This is just what happens all the time. And we have to understand the concept of being rather than having. And when you can get into being, then you can understand that the having is just a byproduct of you being the person that's different. So understand that whatever it is you're aiming for, whatever it is you're shooting for, whatever it is you're trying to get or chasing after, that is going to happen by result of you being a different person or being an elevated version of yourself. And I spoke about this ad nauseum with my counselor in high school back in the day. And she said this thing, she really kind of foretold the future before everything went down. I was a sophomore when I first met her, and she said, people really get amped up about certain events or certain, titles or objects. And then when it happens, it's just this giant fallout because they're not feeling the thing that they thought that they were going to feel. One of those things being high school graduation. We talked about this in a whole series on this channel before. And when you get into the the mode or the mindset that, well, once I have it, then I'll be it. What you're setting up is you're giving favor and value to something outside of you. So you're holding something more important, you're pedestalizing something outside of you, more valuable than right here, than yourself. And when we talk about esoteric scripture and all that other stuff, it's going inner. It's going inner. You're going on the inside. People talk about the Bible, the Quran, the Bhagavad Gita, the Torah. All of these scriptures are really referencing in here. As a man go within, so he go without. And we're just going to give you a few tools to understand what it means to be and then have, as opposed to have and then presume you'll then be. The first thing that I can tell you is, I think you need to understand the first story that I told you. And why do people become more depressed once they have the thing than when they were on the journey to get it? Really hone in on that, why that can happen. And what is the kind of the, I would say, the value there. And when you hear somebody say it's about the journey more than the destination, that's actually extremely true. It's really true, because you can't have a destination without a journey. And you can have a journey and keep journeying after a destination. So if you already presume that you are at your destination, if you presume, and this is going to sound like a crazy concept right now, if you can presume that the journey is the destination, being in the process, you can then start to make an amazing amount of cool stuff beyond your wildest dreams. Because if the process is the journey, if the process is the destination, well, then we've already made it. We're already there. We are already there. The thing with a lot of competitions and people seeing, folks performing games or whatever it may be, that is the tip of the iceberg. We can never understand how many hours a figure skater puts in before they step onto the ice in the Olympics. There are so many hours, and there are so many moments of failure, of injury, of personal struggle, of inner demons that we just don't see. All we're seeing is the highlight. We're seeing the end product. And we're not dealing with all the behind the scenes. The behind the scenes, that's really where the gold is. And this first things first, the journey above the destination. What is your journey? What is your process? What is that going to be for you? A lot of people talk about, oh goodness, this one story. I told it before, but I'll say it again. They talk about marriage as a landmark, as if, well, when we get married or when we have kids or when we live together, whatever that may be, we will have achieved a certain thing. And I remember this elder woman in a small town. She tells this story where she was asked to come to a wedding. I think she was a mentor for somebody. And she went to the wedding with her husband and, congratulated the bride, said, great job, congratulations. And she turned around and the bride said to the elder, we're just so happy that we made it. And the elder just said, okay, yeah. Because a lot of all the time, the journey starts after that as well. There is still a journey that is ongoing after the celebration of marriage, the celebration of life even. A lot of people really, this is gonna sound a little bit out there, but when people put a period at the end of a life, when they go to a celebration of life, what they don't understand is that they're still carrying the legacy of that person afterwards. You're still going on. So the journey is still happening even after the presumed destination. So really understand, what is your journey? What is your journey? What is your process? The next thing to understand about being over having is that you have to hone in on the feeling fulfilled. This is probably the third or fourth video in a row that I've talked about this, but I can't emphasize this enough. If you hone in on the feeling fulfilled, you are being the person after having the destination just as much as before. You're being that person through and through. And then figuring out who you'd have to be to go to the next destination or whatever that is. That is tough. Embracing the feeling fulfilled it's so much easier said than done, because it's just saying, just feel it. just feel it. When really, a lot of people like myself, like a highly sensitive person, the practice of that is insane because we're feeling a lot. We're feeling everything. And when you are taking in all this other static and frequency and emotion and whatnot, you're feeling, you're having to sift through a lot of other things just to get to the feeling fulfilled, and then write down and document, which is pretty much the next part, write down and document the feeling fulfilled so you can actually stick with it. And the last thing that I'll give to you for this is really detailing a vision. I would say document it, write it down for yourself. This is for you. We talked about this before, where we don't tell our visions and dreams to other people because they have a different vision and dream. It's just the way it is. You can't really show somebody your vision and expect them to be like, ah, yes, I've had that vision too. This is a great vision. I can't wait for you to accomplish it. You have to keep some of this for yourself. You really do. And writing it down, getting acquainted with it, almost it becoming some type of, like, this is going to sound strange, like an imaginary friend. Like, I have an album coming out. This is an example. This will give you a little Uncle Toussaint story time. I have an album coming out. I can see the music videos. I can see the graphic design. I can see the animation. I can see the graphics. I can see the show where we release it at. I can see the interviews. I can hear people on the other end of the phone interviewing me having a camera running to get extra content about it. I can see all of it. And the trouble I run into is back to the second part, which is the feeling fulfilled, is I can see it all, I can hear it all. The feeling is tough because there's so many things to sift through. And when you're able to sit and meditate with what you want, you're able to simply hone in on the feeling. And even the seeing and the hearing might get in the way as well. That might be something I need to sift through as well. But you have to understand that once you can sit down with it and engage in the feeling fulfilled, like basically I've done for this album, I can then see the next one. And I say that with a little bit of jest because it's like, when does he stop? And that is something that I don't think I ever will. I don't think I ever will. I can't emphasize enough to you that people putting stock and investment in the 3D or the externalness of things is something that will absolutely collapse any project or dream or vision that you have. I knew a rapper once, and he said, well, if we haven't made it by 29, we're shutting it down. And guess what happened? They ended up shutting it down for a little bit. However, it's not about 29. It's not about that at all. It's about making it. The definition of making it can be, it is entirely subjective. What Tyson Fury experienced was making it would be having the title. But that's not the point. The point for him, it became being happy, right? Being content with oneself, feeling fulfilled, feeling proud of yourself. The fact that he had all the external validation that one could possibly have as a heavyweight boxer in this world and yet feel empty, that tells you everything that you need to know. People can have as much money as they want and still feel empty inside. People can have all the accolades that they've ever sought out to get and still feel absolute crippling depression. Because if you don't do the inner work, if you don't go within, you're not going to be able to go without. And it doesn't go the other way around. An effect can't make an effect. We start with the cause. So when you figure out what your process is, what you figure out what your cause is, and then move on to having the feeling fulfilled, and then from there being able to entertain it, write it down, like script it, maybe even draw something up. Now we're cooking, because we can get to being the person that's going to have it anyways. And then once it happens, we're still moving forward. Because the toughest thing for me that I've learned in this life, it's not in achieving something or building something. It's in being the person that has integrity before and after. Because you see a lot of people win the lotto and then they just blow the money everywhere. they had a happenstance chance to get all this money, and then it's gone. I mean, 30 for 30. They did something called Broke, where they cover all these professional athletes, and they get millions, tens of millions of dollars, and they blow all the money because they never had a state of being on how to retain or sustain that money after they had it. So might as well just toss it all away, right? You have to get into a mode of who do you want to be, not what do you want to have. Who do you want to be? The person that has all these things that you're going for, who is that person being that can live with that and sustain that? That is the question for you. And I think once you start to engage with that, sky's the limit. And there won't even be a limit, really, because you'll just be creating your own reality at that point. We do need to get into institutions and other things that impact this. Like from an external reality, how do you deal and wrestle with the institutions and other things that, basically laws of physics. You're not going to start levitating off the ground like Doctor Strange or anything like that. But how do we deal with reality in relationship to our goals? But I come back to this boxer because I think this is really important. If one can have everything that they've ever sought to achieve and then feel empty, what does that say about everything that you want to achieve? What does that say about how you feel about yourself right now? Can you feel fulfilled without the external validation or achievement or title or trophy or thing? Can you feel that right now? And if so, what does that feeling look, sound, and feel like? And once you start to detail that out for yourself, it's different for everybody. 8 billion people, 8 billion worlds. Once you start to detail that out, now we're on. Now we're moving. And the idea is, how do you maintain that feeling? How do you maintain it regardless of the outcome, regardless of what's outside of you? I think there was Neville Goddard. It was a doctor. I forget it. But he was saying, what if the reality outside of me is limited and everything within me is unlimited? Well, then what? And then the video goes like off into the ether after that. But I think it's really important to understand that there is an unlimited source within you. However, there's a limited, reality outside of us. What does that say? And when you're dealing with the unlimited source first, then what are you doing? And what you're doing results in what you have. All right. That's all I got for you today. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are doing a video a day. I'm telling you what, some days are a little tougher than others, but we are getting through it. So we'll see what happens. But thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in the next video.